Not this new age garbage going on out there.
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive for any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. If I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. If you like this show or you hate it and want to keep listening to it because you hate it so much, you can go to echoplexmedia.com/support and pick your favorite way to support the project. I am producer Dave, and in case you didn't know, you can find me on Grindr.
And I am HK Perrin. You can find me on Mastodon at hperrin@port87.social. But if you're hate watching, don't contact me, contact Dave. He's the one to contact.
Yeah, I'm the one the contact info goes to. That is correct. Well, I've been waiting to show this to you for a couple weeks. So we found this guy named Bashar.
Okay.
His real name is Daryl Anka. We found him when we were covering something called the Conscious Life Expo. I didn't go, but it's in your neck of the woods, Southern California. It's the biggest. I guess you probably know what the Conscious Life Expo is, right? Lots of crystal healing and QAnon.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, this guy was interesting, and that's all I'm going to tell you about him. Here's Danica Patrick, former IndyCar and NASCAR race car driver, talking to Bashar about channeling Bashar. I guess he's channeling Bashar. He's not really Bashar. Parallel realities, extraterrestrial entities, and the metaphysical world.
Are there humans on other planets?
Do you mean humans from Earth, or do you mean someone that's human-like?
Either.
There may be humans from Earth.
Yeah, does the answer matter?
For a variety of reasons. I don't think
or does that?
If it is. There are humanoid ETs that are very similar to us. One of the reasons why that may be so is I think they're actually genetically related to us. People bring up things like alien abduction and the Greys and the creation of hybrid beings. And a lot of scientists say,
well then the first ones to be here wouldn't be related to us, would they?
I don't know. Oh man, the devil's going to be in the details here, and by the devil, I mean this. I'm telling you, this is bug fuck. You're going to love this.
Very alien.
I mean, I haven't seen
was that a pregnant mannequin they just showed on the screen?
It was clearly bisexual. Did you see the lighting?
They wouldn't be compatible with humans enough to actually have offspring to create hybrids. If it is true that people are reporting abductions and the creation of hybrid babies and all this kind of stuff, that would mean they're not really alien. It would mean they might be another form of human.
I was wondering how often you
already off the bat, this is completely insane and I love it.
Like,
yeah, I told you.
A schedule for that, for what you put out for people to see, or is it something that just comes through intuitively as a timing thing?
It is based on whatever schedule works for me.
How convenient that the alien that you're channeling is willing to like, oh, you have a dinner thing. Well, I can wait. I don't have any other alien shit to do. Time is a flat circle anyway.
Not what it is for us. So
Yeah, pencil it in on the calendar.
a no from him. So I'll schedule whatever is convenient because I do it for
Wait, he actually does pencil it in on the calendar?
Zoom.
I'm not sure. What are they used to schedule this? I mean, could you? Are they using some kind of intergalactic internet scheduling service, or
Is it just like a mind thing? Like you just think it?
you're gonna get more. You're gonna have more questions than answers. I think everyone's gonna have more questions than answers. Like I said, we watched this guy give a talk at the Conscious Life Expo, and I was like, oh, we gotta find him. And then I found him talking to Danica Patrick. I'm like, we watched her talk to Beef Daughter. This is going on Wednesday.
But I also do private sessions of 3 or 4 times a week. And then we'll add to that different small groups on Zoom or traveling now and then. Like
Wait, does Bashar join Zoom, or do you join Zoom on Bashar's behalf?
to another place. So it's kind of a mix of things, but it's quite often.
Huh. What are the privates?
The private sessions are an hour
Okay.
for people who really want to just sort of focus in on.
It's also convenient that the fucking alien works in the same exact sort of time that we do, hours. How fucking great is that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, wonderful. In the same time zone.
Right.
Only
Even,
awake when you're awake.
the alien is, this alien that he's channeling is aware of and cares what time it is where he is.
Yep.
This is all,
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love it. I love it. How accommodating.
Like, honestly, if you are actually experiencing this, like if you have these kind of, what do you call them, hallucinations that he's having, how do you not realize that you're crazy?
Oh, I'm not sure it's that.
when they can't ask them in a group.
Oh, cool.
You know.
I'm pretty sure this guy is well aware that there's no fucking alien talking to him.
If I wanted to schedule it,
Okay.
you would channel while I asked them, and I would ask the questions.
Yes.
Got it. What do people want to know about in that space? What is the
Anything
most?
and everything. I mean, their lives.
Is he doing it for money? Is that what this is?
You think Zoom call is free?
Yeah, I guess he did say the private session. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, how long you been on the intellectual dollar tree?
I mean, how
kinds of spirit guides.
how can you possibly make money doing? I'd imagine.
So we're 2 minutes into this, and you're just gonna have to like let him explain it. I promise.
Okay.
I promise it's gonna be more fun if we let him explain it a little bit more.
Okay.
A lot of what Bashar talks about, though, has to do with, in a sense, kind of a toolkit for how to live your life in a more positive way. That's really what I like about his information, because he understands being physical, what we need in physical reality. He's distilling down how reality works, how existence works.
This alien just wants you to be your highest self and live your best life.
This alien just wants you to live, laugh, love.
Bashar is basic.
Us into something that's pretty straightforward and can create a positive effect in our lives very readily. Can manifest what we need very readily.
It's those 5 steps, right?
It's what he calls the formula. Yeah, what he calls the formula. That's the basis of what he talks about. But then, he'll go into explanations of a lot of other things like parallel realities and things like that, and how that dovetails in to what we experience our reality to be.
Yes, and
So,
I definitely want. I'm curious about.
You said this is Danica Patrick that's interviewing him?
Yeah.
Why is she interviewing him?
Her channel is fucking cooked, dude.
What is going on in this universe?
We'd have to ask Bashar.
Something happened to Earth in the past few years. It's like, it's off the rails. We have completely jumped the shark. We're going to get canceled.
I feel like it's very hard for me to wrap my mind around. It doesn't make sense. I can't like see it.
Right. Well, that's why I like what Bashar does, because a lot of times he'll use analogies to explain things. So, for instance, one of the analogies he uses for parallel realities is think of your TV shows. You're sitting watching a TV show. You know that while you're watching one show, there are hundreds of other shows playing at the same time, but you don't see them because you're not tuned to them. You're not tuned to that frequency.
No, but that's dumb because they're all happening in this reality, or they all did get recorded in the reality that we all, or the most of us, accept to be real. That's a dumb analogy.
Yep.
Whatever, though. I mean,
but if you change the channel, suddenly you're getting another show. That doesn't mean the show you were watching is gone. It's still playing. So he's basically saying that's a simplistic analogy of
it's still broadcasting. It's not playing anymore because you changed the channel.
Well, it might be playing somewhere else.
But like, yes, we understand radio waves and
even cable television,
multi-carrier lines, multi, whatever you call it, the cable
television,
cable lines that carry multiple channels. Yeah, we understand that.
Running simultaneously, but you only experience what you're tuned to. So it's all about frequency. It's all about resonance.
Oh, it's all about frequency and resonance.
Frequency and resonance.
Yeah, you don't say. These people, I bet he's going to say the high frequency is good, and then he's going to really piss me off because I am a DJ, and I disagree.
But like, what if the thing that you're trying to tune into is using some sort of like encrypted channel hopping protocol, like Bluetooth? Then you can't tune into it. So what do you do in that situation?
Bashar does not believe in encryption.
Oh, okay.
Bashar has poor OPSEC.
All unencrypted communications.
If you had put your brain in the sous vide machine for the right time at the right temperature, you too could channel Bashar.
So then how does that play into the physical body? Because that's where it feels to me like the catch happens, where it's like, but this physical body.
Yes, it can get a little heady. People do have to really wrap their mind around it because it is a very different concept.
Yeah.
What he's saying
is
say. We are literally shifting through billions of parallel realities every second. You don't have the same body every second. You have another and another and another and another.
Well, then why do I keep getting older and uglier?
If that's true, then like, wouldn't that mean that like all of the bodies that I'm shifting through look and work and feel and think exactly like my body is, like moment to moment?
Right. And in that case, then it's like a distinction without a difference.
Yeah. Then it's like completely meaningless. Unless I all of a sudden become like an elephant, like it doesn't matter.
That'd be really weird if you just turned into an elephant on my show. I wouldn't want to discriminate against you, but I would probably hang up on you and call the authorities in your area, wherever that might be. I don't even know where you live anymore. I don't care.
Somewhere in Southern California, there's an elephant that used to be a guy.
in a house trying to do a podcast.
We are co-creators with creation. You are literally creating a new reality every second. This is the power of our spirits.
Am I literally doing that?
Reality from his
I feel like I'm not literally doing that.
Projection of consciousness.
I've been trying to create one since we started this video, and here we are.
That we're having as spirits. We never leave spirit. That's our natural state. We're there right now. But a portion of our spirit is dreaming that we're not. And that's what physical reality is.
What?
So we are constantly projecting.
I think this guy plays VR chat and thinks that it's
like
real life.
Frames on a film strip, one after another.
I think this guy plays real life and thinks it's VR chat.
A new frame, a new frame, a new frame, a new frame that gives us our sense of movement and continuity and time and change. That's how we've created the experience of physical reality.
New frame?
Therefore,
So
we actually are new people every second.
Does he think we're film?
That's a good question. I don't know. I again, I'm as sure as I can be that he's grifting. I'm as sure as I can be that he's grifting. As soon as he starts charging money for this shit, like he's grifting. I'm sure as I can be because he seems like he's pretty. He seems like he's actually screwed together pretty tight. Like you know what I'm saying? Like He's doesn't have like I don't see the hallmarks of a true believer here. But
Okay.
this is just based on, I've seen maybe 3 hours of content of his, 3 hours and 5 minutes and 36 seconds now, I suppose.
Billions of times a second. So he's basically saying when you can really wrap your mind around the fact that you are new every moment, you can define yourself however you wish to be, because you're always going back to 0, 0, 0, 0. And whatever you define yourself to be.
That sounds like something that would be dangerous for you to believe in.
Well, it's a good thing nobody believes that. Like, yeah, because it's like taking away it basically takes away not only your responsibility but your agency, right? Because if you don't have any control over what you're going to do in a second, then you don't have any agency either. And if you are a different person than you were 10 seconds ago, then you're not responsible for any of your behavior.
Yeah, I could just eat an entire sleeve of Oreos and my wife would be like, "Did you just eat this entire sleeve of Oreo?" No, that was 10 seconds ago, HK.
Right.
I'm a completely different person now.
And in my reality, those Oreos they're still here, actually.
Yeah.
You're tripping. Nothing wrong with eating an entire sleeve of Oreos, by the way.
And that includes the idea of the future and the past. Because he's basically saying you actually change your past every time you change your present. Because the present is all there is. The idea of the past.
Okay, maybe I should rip this guy off and see if he'd be like, but I just did that. I just ripped you off like an hour ago, actually. I don't owe you that money anymore. That's not the fucking current me. That's not the me that fucking stole $10,000 from you and gave it back to some of the people you did these fucking Zoom calls with. It wasn't me. I'm not Robin Hood.
I don't owe any of that money to you because I'm a completely different person.
Just another present that you've shifted out of, but it's still going on.
How did he even schedule this interview?
Show that's still playing when you change the channel.
Or just when he sends you the invoice, when he's like, "All right, cool, that was your session. Here's the invoice." You can be like, "Oh, that wasn't me in the session. I'm a completely different person now, so I don't owe you that."
You think this guy said asked you to pay after?
Yeah, no, he definitely requires payment up front.
Like I imagine it like a stack of timelines that just exist as a stream, or is it more like I'm looking at like a tree branch where it just continues to sprout, and so like every billions of possible realities keep splitting and splitting and splitting to the point where
he's basically saying
like
they're already split.
They're already split.
But we're not necessarily experiencing them from a certain focal point until you shift, until you change. So he's saying the structure of existence never changes. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And all of that's existing in whatever analogous.
What the fuck does that mean?
You want?
I don't know.
Am I not part of the structure of existence?
So if I could lock any two people into a padded room together, it would be this guy and Eric Weinstein.
Oh my God.
Give him like those Nerf things, the things that you let the kids fight with.
No, just give him 2 microphones.
Oh no.
Use as an example tree branch.
Or even better, give him 1 microphone.
Oh, that'd be great. A dynamic one too, not one of those condensers that'll pick up the whole room. Yeah. Give him like the most direction. Give him like one shotgun mic that neither of them can touch. That's just pointed at a spot and watch them fight over the spot.
Doesn't matter. What changes is our relationship to it, our perspective of it, and our experience of it. And that's how creation expands, because the structure never changes. It is what it is. But we're experiencing that structure from a multitude of different points of view, billions of times a second, to create this.
Okay, so I'm not part of the structure of reality. I'm something different than reality?
Well, you're on a branch of it, whatever that means.
Well, what he's saying is that like there's the reality and then there's something else. I think he used the term soul that exists outside of reality, and that's the thing that's passing through all of the billions of me's every second.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand this absolute dog shit.
So after about 10 minutes of watching his first talk, I gave up on trying to understand it and start making fun of it. If I'm going to be honest, like that's, I'm not, listen, if you spend, you're going to have like a really bad day or two. If you like try to internalize any of this and rationalize it, you're just going to be like, I know you're going on vacation with your wife. You're going to be the worst person to go on vacation with your wife if you try to like internalize and rationalize any of what you're experiencing on this show.
I'll just have to compartmentalize that.
Oh wait, you'll be a totally different person after you disconnect from the call. That's how convenient.
Yep.
Is all there. But when we decide to experience certain portions of it, certain perspectives of it, we're expanding our souls, our growth, our experience. Creation is expanding in its experience of us because we are creation from another point of view. So it takes a while.
Creation
Scientology.
But
creation experiences us?
Yes. In Soviet Russia, creation experience you.
So,
or on Zarkon 9, creation experience you.
so we are all those timelines. We are all those parallel realities. How much do they play into each other?
Well, actually, from his
It would be incredibly funny if she like just looks deadpan into the camera and goes, "Listen, I could put up with beef daughter and all that shit for the money, but I just can't do this," and just walks out.
Oh, that would be great. I would pay to see that.
They always do. What we consider to be one timeline can actually be made up of thousands of timelines.
Like the
So in other
Mandela
words,
effect.
It depends on what frame you want.
Okay, so wait, hold on a second. I thought these frames of reality that we're passing through were still frames. Now they're also moving? So like every one of these frames of reality is moving forward through time, and we're just passing through ones that match our reality? Does that mean like the billions of ones we pass through every second are becoming different? Like are they changing into other realities in the future?
Listen, HK, have you ever thrown a rock in the air and then tried to throw another rock in the air and hit it with the rock that you're throwing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's what's going on here.
We're just hitting rocks in the air?
No,
But like, how does our soul know which realities, which universes or, universe frames match our given one? Is there ever a time where our soul like accidentally picks the wrong reality and moves to a reality where, again, I'm an elephant?
Yeah, that's the Mandela effect. Like when you think that the Monopoly Man had a monocle, that's an example of that. Or when you think there was a movie, Shazam with Sinbad in it or something.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, or I forget what it was now. It's the Mandela effect. It's when your soul grasps the wrong reality. No, I don't fucking know.
So this just became a lot more complicated to me because I thought these were just like still frames of the universe that just existed as a frame of reality. But no, these are like their own separate universes with like their own separate pasts and their own separate futures.
Yes, I suppose.
Okay. And like our past has to line up with the past of that reality, the reality we're flowing into.
Listen. At least this guy isn't sitting here telling you that he unified the theory of gravity with the theory of the standard model, like on the back of a napkin at a bar. All right, like.
But like, then wouldn't that mean it's completely unnecessary to travel between them? Why wouldn't our soul just like pick one and stick with it?
Some souls are fickle.
Like, why does our soul have to move between them? Why can't our soul just like pick one and be like, all right, this is my reality now?
Have you ever met a cat?
And then like, what would be the consequence of that? Would our soul like, is it that our soul can't influence the future of reality? So it's our soul's like, no, I want that future. So it veers off to another one. Then like, what about like your friend? Would their soul like veer off to a different reality? And then like all of a sudden your friend that you were talking to a second ago is like now just like a husk.
We've had a few shows where I kind of felt like that, honestly.
Just an empty vessel.
I felt like one of us fucking our soul had traveled to some other fucking place. Yeah.
I feel like this whole idea of his is not well thought through.
Well, it's not his idea. You see, it's easy enough. Also, you know how like your cat will just get up and run to the other room and then just sit down for no apparent reason?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of the same thing. That's what your soul does.
Okay. So our souls are like cats.
Yes.
Very fickle.
So in the next moment, you make a decision. Well, that decision may be more germane for another timeline. So if you make that decision, he's saying you're actually jumping timelines.
Wait, have you ever played Mad Libs? Or one of those choose your
yes.
own adventure books?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like both of those at the same time.
Okay. Well, like, so again, like this, what he's saying is like, it's when you make a decision that your soul jumps to a new timeline. So then like my soul and like my friend's soul or my wife's soul, my soul and my wife's soul, are we still in the same timeline together that we got married in? Or is there like a different soul in her body than the one I married?
The question, I suppose, is, are you soulmates?
Like, there are a lot of implications to this idea that are very, very bad.
Don't blame Daryl. It's all Bashar's fault.
Okay. Yeah. And Bashar.
And mostly people like Danica Patrick's fault. Actually, I think she knows this is bonkers. There's no way she used to drive a race car at like 225 miles an hour. Like she's well aware of the world around her, I think.
But you think it's the same timeline. It's
Yeah.
not. So you're constantly changing your present, which means you're constantly changing your past, because that present of that timeline has a different past. So
Okay, yeah. So then nothing you do actually matters. You can't be held responsible for anything.
What does Bashar think of the trolley problem?
Just pick a timeline where the trolley isn't going to run people over.
Oh, yeah.
You think you know what it was, but that's the past you have to remember for the.
Although only if that's your goal. If it's your goal to maximize destruction, then pick a timeline where the trolley splits in half and goes along both pathways and kills everyone.
Automatically just seems like it's always been that way.
Oh, you just don't know.
You don't know. Now, sometimes
What's going on with her camera? It keeps like popping in and out of focus.
Reason. Deja vu is one of
She
those.
bought an expensive camera and turned on like automatic continuous focus instead of just setting the focus.
Where
That's what
I've
happened.
done
That's
this
what's going
before.
on.
It feels like I've been here.
The camera's
before,
switching timelines. That's what
because
someone
you
said in
may
the
be picking
chat.
up on a parallel reality, or you may be picking up on the spirit level where you've planned this out, and now it seems familiar because you're remembering that you planned this out, or you're connecting into a parallel reality where.
Well, I mean, if you plan something out, I do hope that you remember that you planned it. I mean, that's the point of planning something. Maybe you could write down the important parts.
But you didn't plan it. That was a completely different Dave.
That was yester you.
Yester you.
Yester Dave. I can't believe I've never said that.
Yesterday.
I can't believe I've never said yesterday.
Oh my God, that's great. Every time
it feels
you're
like
paying for something you did yesterday, you can be like, fucking yesterday.
done this before, even though I haven't. So there is bleed through in a lot of different ways between parallel realities, between physical and non-physical reality, that can create some of those things that we find mysterious, like deja vu, and also things like psychic functioning. Because again, all you're doing is tapping into a myriad of probabilities that all coexist simultaneously, and a psychic isn't really predicting the future. They're sensing the energy that exists at the moment.
No, they're not. They're cold reading. most people go right. If you saw like a psychic readings thing at like a farmer's market or a street fair, and it was like $10, you would just go as a goof, and the person there understands that it's entertainment, baby. It's entertainment. Everybody knows. Everybody's in on the joke with psychics, I think. Like if everybody isn't in on it, then it's just a fraudulent industry. But I think everyone's in on it, right?
Maybe low column A, low column B.
And they're sensing what the probable pathway is that energy would take you on if you didn't change it. So sometimes a prediction can actually render itself obsolete if you don't like.
So wait, so I'm traveling through like billions of different realities every second. Didn't he say that? I'm not making billions of decisions every second.
But you ever tired for no apparent reason?
Only all the time, yeah.
Well, it's because you're traveling through all these. You're just it's difficult.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
you know
it's
it,
jet lag.
you know, maybe them people live to be 120. Maybe they only travel through like half a billion realities a second, so they are just not expending so much reality inertia, reality effort. I don't know.
And therefore, it's not that the prediction was wrong. It's just that you've changed it by knowing about it.
Do we ever stay on a timeline very long? Like, do people stay on a timeline, or are we constantly jumping,
We're
moving?
constantly jumping.
It'd be really funny if he just disappeared right now. When she asked, "Do we ever stay on the timeline for very long?" Poppy's gone. Apparently not.
Or if he just turned into an elephant.
I bet that set is expensive.
Are we
Sometimes it's
accelerated now more than ever in this timeline jumping?
Yes. Acceleration is not so much a product of shifting faster, because we shift billions of times a second already,
Pretty fast.
which is already very fast. What he's saying,
But it's not as fast as trillions of times a second. I mean, why not just be like quadrillions of times a second? Let's go big. Like,
Why not just infinite times per second?
a matter
multiple
of
infinities.
what frames you're going to that make it seem as if you're skipping frames, you're accelerating. So maybe instead of going through process 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe you have done something to change what you need to experience, and now you're going from 1 to 5, 5 to 10, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you may be skipping frames, so to speak. That's what makes it seem like you're going faster.
when your
is
upstream
there's
dies
less
and you drop
continuity
frames.
between the frames. It's not such a smooth transition. Things are changing rapidly because you're skipping interim frames, but you're still shifting at the same rate.
Like, I would like to think that I make good decisions that put me on a higher timeline. Is there really such thing as a higher timeline?
There are timelines that are more representative of higher frequencies.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Ones that are more positive, ones that are more negative. Positive.
Yeah, now I'm mad. Now I'm pissed. Now I'm pissed. Listen, I play a lot of breakbeats in Miami bass, and this is just insulting, honestly, to like the entertainment I provide late at night after I've drank like half a handle of vodka. All right, like now I'm just fucking insulted.
You see, what you need to do is shift your music to higher frequencies. And by that, I mean just play it all ultrasonically.
You just pitch it up, I suppose.
All into ultrasonics. 30 kilohertz or above.
Therefore, usually representative of a higher frequency. Negative is usually disconnective, experientially. Diminishment, that means it's more of a lower frequency generally.
Like the brown note?
It's not about connecting anymore. It's about dissociation.
Can Bashar make you shit?
Dissociation is a lower frequency. So yes, there are higher and lower frequencies represented by different timelines. So that's why he gives us what he calls the formula, because he's basically saying the formula is literally a navigation tool. By following the formula, you are navigating yourself in the direction of the timelines that are of a higher frequency. So you're shifting more to those than the other way.
But they're also shifting around all the time too, so you can never get there.
Navigating in that direction.
What does that mean?
Talking about coming to the end of a cycle and starting a new one.
Bashar,
Everything is shifting frequencies all the time, so
for 40 years of our time, aside from
You're
just
doomed.
the basic reason of helping people, uplifting people, is also preparation for contact with extraterrestrial beings. Because as far as he's
The
concerned,
aliens are like, all right, we're gonna finally show ourselves. Let's find some random dude and channel Bashar through him. That'll get everybody ready for it.
okay, so Bashar is an alien or a god?
Probably.
What, both?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, what would be the difference if it was able to
Yeah,
fucking
true.
inhabit this guy's mind? What would be the difference? Why wouldn't it be a god to us?
Yeah, I suppose so.
that's part of our future. That's part of our evolution. That doesn't mean everyone will experience it, but those that choose to do so can.
For a low price of $200 a session or whatever the fuck it is. I bet he charges less than the breathwork shit we found.
All the information he's giving us is raising our frequency into the timeline where contact.
I don't want my frequency raised.
Him and others.
Raising someone's frequency without their consent is
at the
illegal.
End of this 40-year cycle now, which he has said 40 years is usually the typical cycle for great transformations in human societies. You know, like the whole, biblical 40 years wandering in the desert.
Got it, yeah.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
But they should have got there and like.
She's saying got it like she understands this, like it's actually understandable.
Also, like the story of them walking for 40 years or whatever in the desert, they could have walked there in like a few months. Like, they fucking got lost, man.
Demonstrated several times how things happen in 40-year cycles for humanity. And now that he's at the end of that 40-year cycle, he's basically saying it's sort of all the stuff we've given you, it's time to walk your talk. It's time now for him to deliver actual suggestions for actions we can take in society that may be very challenging for some people, but are the actions that will actually, bit by bit, step by step, month by month, if you are willing to do them, or how much of them you're willing to do, will actually bring us closer to the frequency of contact and in alignment with
what frequency is that?
Interstellar.
But like, also, why would I care? I'm not the same me that's going to be me tomorrow. So
right, I'm not even the same guy that's going to meet the fucking alien, right?
Yeah, I'll make whatever decision I feel like then.
Could you let him know when it's important? let. There's no tomorrow, Dave version like yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, specifically delivering.
If I was Thomas, I could be tomorrow.
A series of steps for people to do.
So you got to change your last name to Thomas.
He hasn't.
Well, then you'd be Dave
all of
Thomas.
them yet because he's only just given one.
Isn't that
he's about?
Isn't that someone? Who's Dave Thomas?
Taking care of your health is
Hold on, we're going to skip this thing. Dave Thomas founded Wendy's and is a horrible person.
Okay, yeah, don't be Dave Thomas.
ag1.com/prettyintense. Check it out.
In this upcoming transmission at the end of this week. But the first one, again, he's saying you don't have to do this, but the more you do, the closer you get to the frequency of contact. So the first list of suggestions has to do with letting go of conspiracy theories.
Wait, what?
Letting go of conspiracies? Is that what he said?
Conspiracy theories.
What does he think? Okay, never mind.
That's
Not gonna try.
Fun. I'm out. I'm going to stay here. This lower timeline I'm on is fun.
Yeah. It's going to be challenging for a lot of people to do that.
Interesting. Why? Why is that significant?
Because it leads people
Do
down.
you think Danica just made fun of him?
Maybe.
Was she making fun of him? I think she was.
That's
Because it
significant.
leads people down rabbit holes that are disinformation and misinformation. And in a sense, if you stop and think about it, if you really buy into a lot of the things that people talk about in terms of conspiracies, getting too caught up in conspiracy theories itself is a conspiracy because it keeps you going and running over here when something else might be happening over here.
So I mean,
That's
the
not
message
what
is
the word
so the message is
conspiracy means.
So the message is kind of good, sort of, in that
Okay.
he might be telling his followers not to, go down the chemtrail rabbit hole or QAnon or whatever. But then he just says that it's like distracting you from I think probably the alien. And then that's where I'm like, okay, stop the car. I'm getting out.
Well, yeah, because anything that distracts you from his alien buddy is going to keep you from giving him money.
Right. You might give Madison Star Moon $5 instead of giving him 200.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'll put it out that way. A lot of people who might actually be running conspiracies may want people to believe in other conspiracy theories to keep them preoccupied so they don't know what's going on here. So he's just saying there's just too much disinformation. What you need to do is always check the facts, always go to the source of the information. Don't believe things just because a dozen or 1,000 people say that they're true. He just wants people to start thinking for themselves more rationally and really understand how grounded it's important to be.
But everybody thinks that about themselves for the most part. I don't think people think, you know what, I'm just not going to bother thinking for myself. But
I mean, like, look at who is currently saying that.
right. He's like, don't worry, just do what the alien says, but also think for yourself.
Yep.
They're not just spinning wild tales and getting scared and getting caught up. Because in a sense, he's basically saying, look, the greatest power that, let's say there is someone who wants to do something negative that's in power, that's in a place of power. One of the greatest powers they have is convincing you they have more power than they do. And that's where conspiracy theories come in. We're controlled by the government. We're controlled by a cabal of secret people. Now, he's not saying there aren't conspiracies. He's just saying a lot of them get spun way out of proportion, and people start following these threads hither, thither, and yon, and pretty soon you don't know what's true.
Oh, Bashar, actually, this alien pretty much understands how the fucking rabbit hole works. That's not bad. He's like, there are people, in fact, conspiring to do bad things. I read their minds, actually. I know what they're all doing. I'm not going to tell you, but I know what they're all doing. And this is actually not the worst message for the audience that is going to tend to gravitate towards his stuff. I'm a little surprised here, but the problem is that, again, the next step is like, so, but the reason you should be skeptical and maybe try to look into what's actually going on and look into the arguments against your position is because an alien told you to.
Yep. And give me money and I'll tell you more from the alien.
Right. That's again, that's all the way up until basically, if he just took the alien out of it, he's just giving people kind of bog standard advice about how to evaluate claims.
Yep.
But then the problem I think is he's like, well, but don't you ever, don't turn that shit on me. Like,
yep.
It's always like, think for yourself or question everything. Oh, no, question everything else.
Yeah, only believe things when you trust the source and there's evidence. But except for the alien, trust him implicitly, and there's definitely evidence. I just won't show it to you.
By the way, you have to pay for any more of this.
So he's saying the vibration of contact and the interstellar alliance is a very narrow bandwidth. And if you're over here doing all of this and getting caught up in all of this, and you don't know what's real and what's true, and you're getting disinformation and misinformation, and you're scared to death because you think this is happening and this is happening, he said, you are so far away from that bandwidth that it's going to be difficult for you to come back. So he's suggesting to people, again, he's saying, you don't have to do this. It's up to you. Because we all have the power to choose. But he's saying, but here's the bandwidth of the Interstellar Alliance. Here's the bandwidth of open contact with ETs. And it's not about falling down the rabbit hole of all these conspiracy theories. So I don't know what he's going to come up with next, and after that, and after that. But he's basically saying each of these steps that he's delivering once a month, you keep doing them. You don't just do step one and stop and then do step two.
Got it.
You do step one.
Stack them.
And you stack them. Step two, you keep doing step one. Step three, you keep doing.
Whoa, this sounds like Scientology now.
Till he's building in you a particular energy, a particular momentum that, again, is not only.
He's like essentially describing the process of going clear and taking Scientology courses.
Tool to take you in that direction.
This is probably some of the most mindless drivel that I've heard since I read the Stable Datum.
But it also gets us to really take the physical actions in our society that are really representative of the kind of reality we say we want.
Right.
But why would that matter if that society isn't going to be your society tomorrow? You're just going to shift to a new society. So
yeah, it's
who cares? Nothing matters.
It's so strange. I mean, a lot of it has to be contradictory because of how a bugfuck it is.
I mean, unless there's some way that like my soul is picking universes that, it knows to match a universe with one where the me there has made the same decisions in the past. But he said the pasts were different between universes. So I don't think my soul has that ability. So yeah, nothing matters. Who cares?
talk. It's time to really apply these things in physical reality and get an effect that we say we want, but he'll see how much do you really want it? Are you willing to do these things?
Has he shared what that contact will look like? What is the actual
Well, he said it will go in
mechanism of contact?
phases. It will go in phases. A lot of it has to do with what they believe contact should look like. On Earth, we have a lot of these ideas about what we think contact
Is they
will look
Bashar?
like, but we tend to forget that
Does Bashar use they them pronouns? That's pretty cool.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm with that.
ETs have their own agenda too about what it really would look like, because he's done this before with other civilizations. He's a first contact.
He's fine. Bashar is fine with any pronouns,
Yeah, Bashar is he, they. That's cool.
or just any.
Yeah, could be any.
We're not the only civilization he's in touch with. So a lot of the way contact is going to unfold is going to come from the way they believe it should unfold for our benefit. It's really hard to say. He said it will happen slowly in phases. The general window of contact is sometime between now and the next 2 decades. He has recently said, which
This guy's leaving himself a lot of fucking runway for the grift.
to make a prediction.
He's like, he did some action. He like contacted like an insurance company. He goes, approximately how much longer would your insurance company guess that I'm going to live? He gives them some information. They're like, approximately 20 more years. He's like, thank you. I needed that.
He has said that sometime at the end of 26, the beginning of 27, there may be a major UFO event that will start turning things around for us. So
A major UFO event.
he very rarely makes predictions because he says the only time he will do that.
What does a major
there's so
UFO
much
event
momentum.
mean?
Well, it doesn't matter because it may happen. So if it doesn't happen, he goes, well, the prediction came true either way.
And if anything regarding UFOs at all happens, then he can go, oh yeah, that was the thing I was talking about.
Right. They just didn't pick up on it. They nobody knew how important that was.
Yeah, that's the major UFO event. That was the thing that I was talking about. That may or may not have happened
that it's
or will happen.
unlikely to change. So he's saying it's probably over a 90% probability that this will happen. He's only ever really
Up to 90% or higher,
he's
right?
made a few, but he's only really made
Maybe
2 really solid, unchangeable predictions as long as I've known him in the 40 years that he's done this. The first one, and it's
Wait, hold on. He's been talking to this alien for 40 years?
Of course, they have otherwise, like, they have to have like a long-standing relationship and understanding. Otherwise, this would all just sound like a bunch of bullshit. HK.
I know. Otherwise, right? Yeah.
But
please tell me though that this guy has not been running the same grift for 40 fucking years.
Listen,
that is such a waste of your life. What the fuck is wrong with this dude?
I don't know. Maybe we should see like what's his house and car look like? You know.
I can't imagine that he's paying for like a real lavish lifestyle on like the Bashar Zoom calls.
Fair enough.
So the other thing, actually, you can't meet Bashar. Bashar goes to another planet.
98, he actually said that by the end of 2001, there would be a terrorist attack in New York. And he
did he? Where did you put that in writing?
Oh, that's the great thing, right? He was just channeling them for fun back then. He was like, I was a hobbyist channeler back then.
Yeah. You know, I actually predicted everything that has happened up until now. Every single thing.
Right.
I can't tell you where I said them publicly because I never did. It was all private.
I predicted everything that happened until I started talking into a microphone in 2015, and then I lost my superpowers. Sorry.
That's not true. You've predicted several things that have happened since you've been talking into a microphone.
Most of them have been obvious, but a couple of them have been bangers. I did predict that Deanna Ploss would get gassed at the fucking Capitol, and then she got gassed at the Capitol, and then I laughed.
Recently, that based on the elections in America, he said after 2016, everything would change.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously that's true. When he says there may be something...
Wow, I can't imagine predicting that like after a presidential election, things would change.
Contact
Can you believe
would
that?
happen in a biological body form, or is this more of a psychic level? Or
Well, it's both. In other words, number one, the information coming through the channeling is a phase of contact.
Right, exactly.
Because he's saying, what are you doing with the information we're giving you? Is that something that gets you in the direction where you say, yes, we want this to continue. Yes, we want to have more physical contact. So that's number one. There are also contacts happening in dream states so that it's less scary for us.
He's being physically contacted? What?
Connection.
I mean, I guess they're taking over, the aliens taking over his body or some shit, right?
I thought this was like energy and frequencies.
It's like email.
That's not physical, though. He's talking about physical contact. Like, did the alien like sleep with him? Is that what he's talking about?
I don't think the alien's interested. The alien just wants to be friends.
I don't know.
HK.
He's been hanging around for 40 years, dude.
The alien's just his roommate.
And so that's a phase of contact as well, because their consciousness can bridge those things and introduce ideas in our dream state that we can then.
What if this alien is just like a long-term roommate that has been gaslighting this guy for like 40 years?
Well, I don't know. The guy's fucking, the Bashar's checks keep clearing every time I deposit them, so it must be real.
Into our reality in a way that we're comfortable with. But ultimately, yes, physically. But I know that no matter what people think, we're not ready for it. And he's explained very strongly why, because, and I actually had a dream communication with him about this many years ago, where he demonstrated this to me.
Wait, a dream communication? So you had a dream?
Dave, it was a dream communication.
Listen, if I dreamt that I talked to an alien, I might tell you about it, but I might keep it to myself. I'd probably tell you about it. It'd be fun.
Yeah, but you'd understand that it's a dream. Like, you and I would both understand if we dreamed that an alien contacted us, it's just a dream. Whereas this guy's like, wow, I was dream communicated with by an alien.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the alien's doing to this guy in his sleep now.
Dream, I saw his ship land. I saw him get out. I saw him walk toward me. And when he got about 20 feet away, I lost my identity. I saw my body through his eyes, and my body jerked away. And he said, this is why. Because their vibrational frequency is so much higher than ours.
Wow, man, that sounds like a dream.
Encounter with spirit.
That sounds like just a regular dream, the kind that we all have.
I would suggest to you that it sounds like a pretty cool fucking dream.
Sure, but regular, right?
I mean, I think above average.
Okay. We'll say an above average dream, but we've all had above average dreams.
Sure.
That was most definitely a dream, dude. You had a dream and you built your life around it. Good call.
That your physical body, your survival mechanism interprets that energy as if you are going to die. And so you go into survival mode. You go into flight or fright. And it's almost like
flight or fright?
Because your
flight or fright?
That's what they call it on Zarkon 7, where Bashar is from. Sometimes
I believe it's fight or flight.
Right, but sometimes Bashar just fucking inhabits his brain for like half a second and just fucking scrambles what he's saying. That's why what he's saying doesn't make any sense. The alien's fucking with him.
Look, if I ever say anything really stupid, it wasn't me, it was the alien, okay?
Yeah. HK learned to communicate with Bashar.
It's reacting to the energy as if your body is dying, because you're now presented with spirit energy in physical form. And it's like, no, I'm not ready. So he's basically saying, when you raise your vibration, when you meet us halfway, that's when contact will happen, when you no longer fear death.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
I'm going to say the thing, everybody. This is one of the things. This is one of the things that the conspiritualists will say, that what you need to do, in this case, to bring about, I guess the aliens are bringing a utopia, at least I hope so, right? Otherwise, why would, but you have to fix yourself. You have to work on yourself. It's a very like neoliberal idea. It's, sort of that like yoga studio shit, where if you can like reach enlightenment, you just by yourself becoming more enlightened, you are helping everyone around you in some way that we were never going to describe to you. Right? That's what he's doing here.
You're not ready yet. You need to get ready. Then the alien will come visit you.
Or not. That'll be $200.
represent death to you because we
That'll be $200. Also, you're welcome.
Society,
Sure.
a complete change of all your ideas. And also just energetically, you have to elevate yourself to understand that you are spirits. You know, you're more than the human body. You're more than a human being.
What does Bashar say about death?
Well, it's.
I want to know what Bashar says about evidence. Should I believe something without evidence?
Bashar finds that question to be very unfair.
That's where we live. We are in spirit right now. It's
As an
basically
evidence-free
like
being,
stepping
Bashar
from
finds
another.
that
There's
that
nothing strange about it.
that question to
It's
be
literally
bigoted.
like waking up from a dream. Like when you have a very realistic dream, and it's no matter how real it seems, when you wake up in the morning, you go, "Oh wow, that was really realistic." But this is who I really am.
Well, but not you. You just
Yeah,
described
that's what normal people do.
you just described a situation where you did the opposite.
Yeah. That is how almost everyone reacts to their dreams because that's normal.
And most of us, they're gone in a flash as soon as we wake up too. Like we don't remember.
Yeah,
too much
I
of
will
them.
very rarely remember a dream. So if I did have a dream that was like this guy was describing, maybe I would believe in aliens.
Real life. So he's basically saying, when you die, it's like you just woke up from that. It's like, well, that was really real, but this is who I really am.
Yeah.
You're waking up into your real self because you're already there. You're just pretending that you're not.
Pretending or not aware?
No,
Like
you
we're
are
not-
aware. A part of the soul, a part of you is having this dream. It's not the total of you. So that's why he's saying, you know, when people die, when they cross over, we miss them more than they miss us because
they're not aware that they're dead. Because they're dead.
Yes, we miss them more than they miss us. Is that what he said?
Yeah, because
they
not
woke up from a dream. So we're all just a dream. So life is meaningless.
sure.
Yeah, this is the second.
They-
This is the second thing this guy has described that essentially boils down to life is meaningless.
They can communicate with us in spirit because
Yeah.
we never leave spirit. That's our natural state. We can't leave, but we can pretend we can. We can dream like we can. And that's what physical reality is. It's an opportunity to forget who we are as a timeless being and discover
As a
Timeless.
body thetan, right?
Yeah, that's a Thetan right there. That's fucking Scientology. You are a fucking spiritual being, and that you've lived before and you will live again. If he tells you that you get 3 years off between your physical lives, this is just some weird rebranded Scientology.
So Bashar the alien is actually just Xenu the alien.
Even worse, it's fucking L. Ron Hubbard the alien.
something new. By forgetting, we can remember a new perspective. We can rediscover ourselves. And that's, again, how we grow. That's how creation expands. So
In Greek mythology, you
that's
would
what
drink
physical
from a river
reality
that
is
would
to
make you
me,
forget
is
your
that's
past
the dream
lives.
We're having for our
Also in Greek mythology, all the fucking gods were horny. Is Bashar horny? You think Bashar's horny?
Probably.
own reasons, for our own purposes of growth.
Is being in a higher timeline or higher frequency within that, in that bandwidth, in that tuning of the dial, are we then able to access more of our realities that is going on?
Yes.
Or are we always selecting one? Like, I think the idea of like, you'd like to go, oh, wouldn't it be so fun in this life if I could remember all these other lives and these other entities that I was and these timelines?
No. You would be institutionalized if you thought you could remember all those things, actually.
Or you'd be held up as a religious prophet.
If it's relevant.
Okay.
So, yes. But the idea is that higher frequency is more capable, like a receiver, of receiving higher frequency information. So a person on a higher frequency level is more.
Well, that's how a transmission works. Yes, if it's the receiver and the transmitter is transmitting at a higher frequency than the receiver, then the receiver's not going to get it. You got to get a receiver that's transmitting at the same frequencies there, that's receiving the same frequency that the transmitter is. But that doesn't mean anything.
Well, it kind of does in that there are a lot of downsides to transmitting on a higher frequency.
They're not talking about radio RF HK. I guarantee you. They're talking about it in a spiritual sense, right? They're not really talking about like, and I don't want to. In fact, you know what I would love is to talk about radio waves traveling through walls for 5 or 10 minutes here. That'd be fantastic.
Well, they're co-opting radio words, and I don't like that.
It's a RF appropriation
of incorporating awareness of multiple parallel realities where you're not capable of doing that on a lower frequency. So it's like increasing your bandwidth.
Or yeah, exactly.
So you can take more in,
more data,
and therefore you can be more aware of more of reality on all levels.
Is that why we have to move slow? Because I had an experience taking mushrooms that was a guided journey, and there was so much information.
Yes.
It was like every question had an answer essentially simultaneously.
Yes, exactly.
There was just like, it was overwhelming.
Exactly, because we're not used to that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I went, in that experience, I said, being human is a break from this.
In some ways it is,
like,
yes.
because it's very simple we're down,
Exactly.
down to like one thought.
Danica, you were just shrooming.
You're
in a very
focusing
linear
on a
fashion.
particular theme.
And the person taking you on a guided experience was probably a grifter, right? They're like, well, the shrooms are only 5 times as much as you'd pay for them on the street, but also my time is $1,000 an hour to guide you through your experience.
On a particular
Yes.
challenge, one at a time,
Yeah.
and you can handle it because you're now experiencing the process as opposed to the instantaneous awareness of
Exactly.
it.
When those altered states, what are we doing? What's happening?
We are doing exactly that. We're expanding to a higher bandwidth.
No, you're just high. In the case of mushrooms, your body is responding to something it believes to be a poison.
Does it believe it to be a poison, or is it just it's altering your brain chemistry for sure?
Your body reacts to psilocybin mushrooms with the reaction like it's a poison. Yes.
Okay.
But we're practicing it. We're getting used to it. We're using it for our particular exploration, our particular challenges, our particular theme. As Bashar calls all of those things, the ones that are natural, the teachers of the earth, things like that, mushrooms, whatever, they give us the ability to practice getting into that state.
I would not do shrooms with this guy. I might do shrooms with Danica Patrick, but I wouldn't do shrooms with this guy.
Ultimately,
I wouldn't do shrooms with anyone, so
the teacher to get into that state.
And is it?
but probably this guy would be the worst person to do shrooms with.
Bashar talked much about its productivity to.
Well, that depends on the person and their willingness to go on that journey and their willingness to learn whatever lessons are there for them. So yes, it can be very productive, but it has to be handled with respect.
I
And
wonder if he also thinks that shrooms are the only way to quit smoking. If you remember that famous Jordan Peterson thing with Matt Dillahunty, she should ask.
and you have to be willing to really open up to a new reality to do that. It is a shamanistic journey.
Gosh, with all these timelines and realities, I feel like this is an
Danica, it's a good thing none of this is real.
applicable question, but are there?
I know. I thought she was making fun of him before. I don't think that's true now. I think she was at best playing along.
Humans on other planets? Is human just an Earth thing, or are there humans in other places?
Do you mean humans from Earth, or do you mean someone that's human-like?
Either.
Okay. There may be humans from Earth on other planets for a variety of reasons.
Bashar would know. Why don't you ask him?
It is. There are humanoid ETs that are very similar to us. And one of the reasons why that may be so is I think they're actually genetically related to us. You know, one of the things...
Or they're a fabrication of our imaginations. And so they're going to be like us.
Scientists always say when, you know, people bring up things like alien abduction and the Greys and the creation of hybrid beings and babies and all this kind of stuff. And
Well, that's just the X-Files.
a lot of scientists say, well, look, aliens are going to be very, very alien. They're going to be having completely different DNA. They wouldn't be compatible with humans enough to actually...
Humans have completely different DNA. What does that mean?
They might not even have DNA as we understand it.
Yeah.
Who fucking knows? It's like we haven't met them yet.
Hybrids. They're right.
We're going to run into their garbage first, whoever they are. If they're anything like us, we're going to run into their space garbage before we ever meet them.
Yeah.
What is all this shit falling from the sky? Looks alien trash? Looks like alien trash. Now we're going to be at war with alien trash. And they're going to have no idea that the Earth has declared war on them as their fucking, like the fucking muffler from their old spaceship falls on the White House.
Yeah, it'll be like Independence Day, but instead of a giant ship firing a laser, it's just a giant piece of space junk just falling.
But I think they've had the answer all along without realizing it. And that means that if it is true that people are reporting abductions and the creation of hybrid babies and all this kind of stuff, that would mean they're not really alien. It would mean they might be another form of human. Now, the story that Bashar has told about the Greys is very different than a lot of other stories I've ever heard anyone else talk about. But it jives with what a lot of
Right, but what did they do with Fox Mulder's sister?
say they have gotten from the Greys in terms of any information that they may get on a lot of levels. And the story he tells is that the Greys are mutated humans from a parallel version of Earth, where they destroyed their version of Earth. They stopped being able to reproduce. They're dying out. And therefore they had to use their technology to tunnel into parallel realities where viable humans still exist, where DNA can be used to create hybrids to perpetuate their culture.
That is literally the plot of the X-Files. There may be a few minor details that are different, but that is like a 1,000,000% that is the plot of the X-Files.
Do you think he just combined X-Files and Scientology and made up his own religion?
Possibly.
Or do you think he was just watching X-Files and had heard of Scientology and he just dreamed it and he was like, oh, that's real?
I don't know if he did it on purpose, but that's like the hybrid, the alien human hybrids, because the aliens are having fucking problems or something and they need our bodies or whatever, is like a key plot point of the X-Files. It just is. I think he just watched the X-Files and forgot he watched it, and he hasn't been doing this for 40 years. He's just lying. Because the X-Files was 30 years ago.
So that's the reason that they're vibrationally and genetically compatible with us, is they're not really alien. They're mutated humans. Now, there may be other humanoid aliens that are also genetically connected to us, because you were talking earlier about the Anunnaki. The idea is, from that point of view, is that humans, Homo sapiens, are already hybridized.
Yeah.
So, in other words, we wouldn't necessarily be Homo sapiens if ETs hadn't genetically injected their own genetic material.
It's a story of how we came to be the way we are.
Right. So it's about that idea. And Bashar has also said something kind of startling.
I'm more interested in the story about how Daryl Anka came to be how he is.
Talked a little bit about things like Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, Sasquatch.
He's basically saying the branches of the early hominid that evolved naturally on the earth that did not get genetically altered became the Sasquatch.
That's crazy.
So that if we had not been genetically altered,
no, that's
natural being
actually
on Earth
crazy.
today
She's
would
right.
all be Sasquatch. There would be no Homo sapiens. So he's basically saying Homo sapiens, in a sense, is an alien form to the Earth because it's got ET genetics in it.
Right. Huh. So, okay, let's go on the story of how we came to be. And I've heard.
Then why do apes, other apes, look so much like us?
Aliens. They're aliens too.
They're also alien. Okay. So how come the
Don't you know
monkeys look so
anything,
much like
HK?
the apes?
Don't you know anything?
I thought I did. How come the monkeys look so much like the apes then?
For their planet, but how
Aliens.
Also aliens?
Aliens.
Okay, so how far back do we have to go to get to the point where the aliens came and bred with everyone?
You'll have to give Daryl $500.
first
This is hundreds of thousands of years
Right.
ago.
When were we first sort of touched by extraterrestrials? What were we? And then what was the interaction? What did they want us for? Why were they here?
Well, like you said, I think the story goes that they were looking for elements to control something that was going wrong on their own homeworld.
I don't think she said
They
that.
needed to balance it with certain elements, like.
Yeah.
But
I'm
I think
pretty sure
they-
he said that.
And I'm getting a fucking dispatch from superstar DJ Bob that says that he did say that. DJ Bob's watching telepathy.
Story found the task a little daunting, and they were under a time pressure crunch to do that. And so they felt they needed.
They were under a time pressure crunch, but this guy had time to just hit you up through the fucking telepathy. Be like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah. Let me pencil you in.
And with their advanced genetic understanding, they felt the easiest and quickest thing to do would be to create workers that would help them mine the gold. And
This is about gold, of course.
Mine the gold? Wait, was this, did I miss something?
This is the first I've heard of it too.
Okay. Create workers to mine the gold. Okay, so they're trying to mine gold on their home planet.
Or here, or both.
Oh, they're trying to mine our gold.
Sure. I mean, it's whatever you
They
want
need
to be,
our
friend.
gold.
Yeah.
Is this like, you know, all those gold advertisements you see on like conservative TV? Are they aliens?
Oh no, because they're trying to sell it to you. The aliens want to keep it themselves. Those are the aliens. Those are the enemy aliens.
Are conservatives aliens?
I have no idea. We're all aliens. That's what he said.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the aliens are really pissed actually that we moved on from panning for gold to other things, and that's why they're going to make contact now. They're going to be like, "Fuck it, blow the place up."
supposedly, according to the story, is they started injecting their own genetic material into the early hominids like Homo erectus and so on and so forth, created Homo sapiens, which they could use to mine the gold. Now, as I understand it, this is something that was against their laws to do. And therefore, the original...
To mine gold? Or to make workers?
Slavery, I think.
Okay.
I think they had abolished slavery. I'm not sure, though.
Okay.
And
I think he's winging it now. More so than usual.
Knew that
Yeah.
was something that group should have done by creating us, then had to come and oversee us and guide
Even
us.
Danica
make
is struggling
sure
to
we evolve
keep up with what he's saying.
in a positive direction.
It's like you gave birth to something, now you have to make sure it doesn't die.
Exactly. And we have to make sure it has the opportunity to evolve in its natural way. And that's, I think, where you start getting the stories in ancient texts and so on and so forth of the gods coming down and giving us knowledge and guiding us and things like that. I think that's where a lot of those stories come from, is
But
after the
they didn't tell us to mine gold right away. They were just like, we'll wait a while. What?
Yeah. It took us a while before we could effectively mine gold.
creation of Homo sapiens, a different set of ETs were now responsible for.
Also, if they have the power to like travel to other planets, why would they need to come to ours to create like an army of workers? Couldn't they just go mine gold in like some asteroids?
Also, it's funny they haven't come to pick any of it up yet.
Well, maybe they do.
We have to take over.
Or maybe they also moved on from gold.
And I think that's where you get a lot of those stories of people interacting with the gods,
No, these are libertarian aliens. They believe in the gold standard.
being given information to help us move forward in life. A
Libertarians.
lot of misinterpretation in there still. Over time,
Libertarian.
Again, it's like, a cosmic version of telephone. You say one thing and somebody else misinterprets it and tells it to the next person. But I think there's seeds of truth in a lot of our ancient texts about a lot of things, stories in the Bible and so on and so forth, or in ancient Indian texts about what was going on back then. So it's a big story. It takes a lot to sort of siphon through it and figure out what elements might be true and what elements might be just sort of imagined on top of it. But I think in general, there's some truth to that story, at least as Bashar has explained it.
Has Bashar ever talked about the Ark?
Is Bashar in the room right now?
What that
Hold on.
about the Ark of the Covenant, and what that is?
He has very briefly, when asked about it, he did basically say
He's like, not this shit again.
energetic. It's a capacitor for energy. It's a communication
Capacitor.
device that
Capacitor for energy? What?
and that it actually is a capacitor that stores energy that can be siphoned off for different purposes. Again, there was, I think, misuse that happened with it, and therefore it was probably sequestered away.
Manufactured poorly, and the top of the capacitor bulged all over your motherboard.
More than one? I mean,
There
these are
may
stories
be,
I've heard.
there
These are
may be more
multiple.
than one. There may be more than one. Just like there may be more than one Noah's Ark, because there are flood legends all over the world, and every culture except the South Sea Island.
There may even be more than one flood.
legend where a whole bunch of people arrived in some kind of
Imagine multiple floods happening in history.
flood and settled.
Do they call it a ship or do they call it a boat? Because if
They
it's a ship,
usually-
it might be coming from outer space.
Yeah, no, they usually talk about it as if it was something riding on the waters.
Okay.
But Bashar ties this into the destruction of Atlantis and saying that basically
Oh, well,
that was
fine.
caused
Okay, sure.
by a cometary impact in the Atlantic Ocean, which caused huge tsunamis and tidal waves and wiped out the rest of Atlantis and flooded into North, Central, South America, Europe, and Africa. And that's where you get all of the flood stories coming from, and all the survivors are all coming. In other words, the survivor stories in the Americas is that the survivors came from the East. The survivor stories in Europe and Africa are that the survivors came from the West. So what's in the middle? The Atlantic Ocean. So if they all spread out from the Atlantic Ocean, I think that what we're getting is different stories that all tell of one catastrophe that caused this massive flooding to happen.
What is the survivors thing? What?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And I think we're gonna end there because actually it was a fucking space tsunami.
Okay, but in Noah's Ark there weren't survivors, right?
The two male
other than
lions. The two male
Noah's-
lions be surviving.
Yeah, other than Noah, his family, some animals, and 2 male lions.
Singing "I Will Survive." They let the lions on the test for the lions was they're like, complete this sentence. At first I was afraid. and then they ended up with gay lions. So what'd you think of that?
That was wonderful. That was so crazy. That was absolute nuttery. That was great.
It's a good trip off the beaten path, as we like to do every once in a while.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
I do
that
want
was
to.
that was very interesting. Like all of the holes in all of his explanations for anything. Like everything he would try to explain, there would be some like glaringly obvious problem with it.
Do you think it might be because it's everything he's saying is fucking bullshit?
Well, yeah, but I mean, he hasn't come up with better stories than that.
So I do want to real quick who's crazier, him or Eric Weinstein?
He's crazier than Eric Weinstein. Eric Weinstein is crazy, but at least Eric Weinstein's craziness is theoretically possible. You know, it really is like technically possible that the entire academic world is just out to get Eric Weinstein. You know, it's not likely at all. In fact, it's probably about as maximally unlikely as you could get while still being technically possible. Whereas what this guy's saying is just completely impossible.
I think Bashar first reached out to Eric Weinstein and was like, "No, I got to find somebody else."
Turned down by Bashar.
He's like, "But first, I'm going to fuck with this guy and give this guy actually the solution to to unifying."
But I'm going to explain it in the dumbest way possible with these paper towel tubes.
Oh, so good, so good. I think this is probably going to be one of as the time goes on, this is probably going to be one of our favorite episodes. I think my favorite episode. I think you have a hard time fucking with the War of the Worlds episode. I think that's one of my favorite episodes of this. That or the David Miscavige interview. I think those are the two best episodes. But this is going to be up there. This is going to be up there with those. I think over time, at least.
Yeah, this guy, we got to follow up with this guy and see if someone who's like a little more believing interviews him, because it felt like Danica doesn't buy into any of this.
She didn't say much. She phoned it in, right? But that's that interview style, right? I mean, a lot of these people, like Dave Rubin, does that interview style where he just lets the person talk. To some extent, Joe Rogan does it if he knows somebody's going to talk forever. That's a style of interview, right? Where you just find somebody who's just got some wild shit to say, and you just let them say it, and then you act like you're listening, and then ask questions like, "Are there more aliens on Jupiter?" And then you just let him keep talking, because he doesn't matter what you could ask any question, really. It doesn't matter because the guy's just going to keep fucking talking, right? Yeah. My only regret on that is, and we may come back to him eventually. Maybe next time we watch him, we're going to watch him channel Bashar, if that's free.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
That'd be some hot red light material.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was some shit. Is he crazier than David Miscavige?
I don't know, because I don't actually know what David Miscavige actually believes.
But you don't
he's
know
just
what this
in
guy
charge
believes.
Well, true. Yeah.
If you just grant them good thing.
Okay. Yeah. If I'm taking them both at face value, I think those two are equally crazy. Probably David Miscavige is more like sociopathically crazy,
or evil, maybe,
because like he's like legitimately a very evil person. And I don't think this guy is evil. He's most likely a grifter, but I don't think he's like evil.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think he's hurting people. I don't think he's, to the best of my knowledge, there's no, he doesn't run a controlled demand group in any sort of like way that we would talk about when we, you know what I mean? There's no, there may be like parasocial relationships within communities around what he's doing, but that's very different than having like a cult, essentially. And this guy does not appear to have a cult. So, take the small victories where you can get them, I suppose.
Yep.
You want to close the show out?
All right. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do this show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. If you're listening to the podcast version, come check us out live sometime. And if you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon at patreon.com/Echoplex, or you can do it at our store where you can buy our merch. That's eplex.store. If you're listening live, we'll be right back after the song for Red Light. And this is Boomers by Periscope.
Say you're blind 'cause you don't see this.